Hello, my name is Quinlan Crowell. Today is November 13th, 2015, and I'm going to be going over the patch 5.22 notes. Most recently, it is the preseason for 2016 season of League of Legends. And actually just today they had a couple patch updates. It's just a hot fix where fixing some bugs with the Phantom Dancer, the Distortion Boots, some champions. But anyways, the biggest changes in this patch is that they are updating a whole bunch of the ADCs or marksman class that they've been talking about for a while now. First off, we got Quinn. The biggest thing about Quinn is her ult that they changed, and it basically turns her into a roaming ADC. I think people are still going to try to play her top lane, but she might see some play bottom. I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see, but being able to transform into Valor, a really short cooldown, and it's actually really good. It helps you roam around really fast. Graves, they changed pretty much his entire identity into, well, they didn't really change his identity. They're trying to reinforce it actually. So his auto attacks are basically what his old Q was. So now every time he shoots, it's like buckshot shotgun blast where the pellets can get stopped by creeps, enemy champions, jungle monsters and stuff. And the closer you are to somebody or something, the more damage you're going to end up doing. He also got his new Q in place of his old Q, which replaces auto attacks, called End of the Line, which was teased a while ago in one of the cinematics. And it's kind of like a Vel'Koz Q. You shoot it at something, and after a delay, it'll come back to you, do a little bit of damage. Actually, does a lot of damage from what I've seen. And the rest of his kit's basically the same. Corki, kind of like Graves, the Riot's trying to reinforce his actual his role in the game. Well, what they're doing with all the marksmen now is trying to give them feel something more unique. And with his new passive, he does whatever his base attack damage is. They split it up into half magic damage and half physical damage. Actually, it's more than half, 110%, which is super good. So now if somebody's trying to build armor against you, you're still going to do damage against them. Same if they're trying to build MR. He also gets the package, which is like a super Valkyrie, where you can fly pretty much triple the distance. And then reactivates Valkyrie when he lands so he can reposition and do marksman dealio things. Kog'Maw. So for Kog'Maw, again, reinforcing what his previous role was as a super long range artillery sieging machine. And what they did was they pretty much reworked his W, which was his bread and butter skill for AD Kog'Maw, and his R, which is his poking spell. For his W, he doubles his attack speed, doubles the cap, and doubles everything, but he does less base damage, which means he will, if you have an on-hit build, he's going to do so much damage from the on-hit effects, while his base AD isn't really going to affect anything. And his ult Living Artillery is going to be less of a poke someone out of lane from full health to zero, and more of a sort of a finisher move that you use to get off low health opponents, since it deals double damage between 25-50% health, and triple damage between 0 and 25. Miss Fortune, oh, I've dealt with Miss Fortune several times in the past. I feel like they can never find out what she actually wants to be. But I guess they're trying again with another rework. New passive, well, the old passive was moved to her W. The new passive lets her do more damage when she changes targets. So I think they're trying to make her into a team fight oriented ADC, like fighting multiple opponents. But the big thing is that, yeah, her new passive gives her a bunch of damage to people that she hasn't attacked, while she still keeps her old strut passive. Caitlyn, she was and still is a long-range poke lane bully ADC, but now she's going to play more played around her passive. So for the passive headshot, where she does extra damage, it's going to automatically be applied to enemies that have either stepped on the W Yodel Snapchat or people that she's hit with her 90 caliber net. The Snapchat, the Snaptrap and the 90 caliber net are different in that the passive headshot that she gets for hitting people with that get extra range at 1300 range, which is basically double her initial auto attack range, so you don't want to step on those and you don't want to get hit by the nets. Those were the major reworks. Now we got some smaller scale changes with, let's see, for Ashe, yeah, they revamped her passive and they changed her Q so that it yeah, her Q is going to be more of a in fight sort of thing. So she's basically the same. Draven, slightly smoother attack frame, attack animation. That's good. I like seeing Draven in my games. Excuse me. Ezreal, small changes to cooldown, considering the new Essence Raver. I'll get to the new items later. Jinx, small change to her passive. She gets stacking attack speed, and the passive lasts for 6 seconds. So if you can string along a bunch of kills, assists, towers, and whatnot, you can ramp up pretty well. Callisto, hopefully she's not as problematic anymore, but still, they increased her base attack speed, but they lowered the growth, so a little early game buff, but you should notice some slower attack speed later game. Oh, that's pretty big. Her passive now only scales with attack speed as opposed to the boot tier, so if you got tier 3 boots in like 10 minutes, she's still going to jump at the same speed, so now you're going to need the attack speed. Lucian's ult changed a little bit. Now scales with the number of bullets, or no longer scales with the number of bullets attack speed. Now just fires a flat amount, which means you can be encouraged to buy things other than attack speed to increase your damage output. Sivir, small change to base attack speed, and her W is a nerf to the base cooldown, but the cooldown starts on cast, which means you can hold your ricochet for a little bit longer than you could before. Tristana, they removed the synergy between her Q and her E, but they lower the cooldown of the base rapid fire. Rocket Jump now has a reset when you get Explosive Charge, and Explosive Charge now explodes immediately upon reaching max stacks. But now has synergy with the Rocket Jump and her ult. So they took a little bit of a synergy away from the Q and Explosive Charge, but added it more into her other skills, which have a bit more interaction with the enemies. Twitch. This is a big one. Now his ambush now resets completely when an enemy dies by anything that he does. So he gets a resetting stealth in team fight, which is pretty good to reposition and stuff. Ult, a little bit nerfed. Slower duration, but mana buff. It's a bit of a trade-off. We got Varus, small change. A little bit of clarity, 10 of clarity. For enemies, they can see the range of the roots and stuff. And passive interaction with his ult. So, it's good. Vayne changes. They lowered. Yeah. No more base damage on the Sliver Bolts, but higher percent health damage. So definitely a late game buff, 12% over 8%. Definitely better for Vayne. Urgot no longer gains resistances, but now has a damage reduction with his ult. So it's pretty much a buff, I would say. He's better, but still not a good spot. Azir, more bug fixes. I feel like we see Azir bug fixes every patch. Kindred. The big thing for her is that now her passive has a cap against neutral mobs. So I think if you do the math right, it's a buff to early game, but anything past like 10 or 15 minutes, you're going to be doing less damage to Baron buffs and Dragon. So nerf to Kindred's objective control. Meanwhile, Kalista gets to be queen of the objective securing. LeBlanc. Oh yeah. The clone now shows buffs. Kind of annoying. I hate LeBlanc, but makes it a bit better for her because she can actually juke people with the clone instead of having them know immediately who she is based on what buff she has. They fixed a bug with Renekton's W where they were dodging his stun with Flash. They fixed a bug with Riven's Q, makes her a bit more reliable with her gap closing. Shaco. Yeah. They made his E now slows the attack speed of monsters by % on hit. Yeah, so that should be better because it's not a random. It's trying to get rid of randomness from the game. They're just making it so it's more consistent damage reduction from monsters by making them attack slower rather than missing randomly. And his R, kind of like LeBlanc, it's going to be more tricky, shows the buffs that are on him. Sion. For Sion, let's see, bug fix. Yeah, small bug fix, not that big a deal. Attempting to cancel Rolling Thunder's attack no longer cause sluggish behavior. Yeah, it's a small issue. It's been happening. Also happening with Wukong's Q, trying to cancel it, making everything bug out and freak out. Also, clones show the buffs. And Nimbus Strike bug fix. For Zed, yeah, fixed a bug where quickly casting Living Shadow and Razor Shuriken would cause its Living Shadow to cast instantly instead of using the cast time. So this should help out the counterplay against playing against Zed. So, for example, if you're standing in range of his Living Shadow, he could drop it on you and cast his Q while his shadow's going out, and the shadow would also cast the Q before it even lands, and enemies wouldn't even be able to dodge it. So I like this one. Attack damage adjustments. So since it's preseason, bunch of changes, a lot of changes to base and attack damage growth stat for these champions. I'm not going to go over all of them because they're just reactionary. But yeah, it's pretty much over all the ADCs. Mana and mana regen adjustments. Also preseason, they're changing up bases for all champions have plus 50 base mana and minus 3 mana scaling. So net minus 1 mana at level 18. Not really big changes, but yeah, they're there. So many champions. These champions have higher base mana regen. Looks like they're all supports, or can be played support. Systems. Alright, here's some big changes. Grievous Wounds changed to 40% reduced healing, and it only affects self-healing instead of all healing. So this is a pretty big change, as any champion that relies on like healing, like Nidalee, Soraka, supports in general, they're going to get a pretty big buff off of this, since they can help their teammates without them feeling like the Morellonomicon or Executioner's calling on the other team is going to completely ruin them. It looks like they've standardized empowered basic attacks, so all these abilities that would be dodged or blinded have no effect when they miss. Right, added the Rift Herald, a new neutral objective to where the Baron spawns, except it's only going to be in the game between 4 minutes and 1955. And it's basically a Baron buff for one person, and it gives much less global gold. So if a team can try to play around that, they can use that person to push a lane and get more objectives. Game start time. Everything spawns 15 seconds earlier. I like this because, like I said, waiting around for a minute and 55 is a long time just for nothing to happen between that time. The gold gain increased to 10.2, and the members of the team with the lowest gold gain more gold. Okay, so yeah, this should be in response to all the item changes that are coming up. They reworked the bounty system. So TLDR, basically, there's no more like 500 gold for a kill for the person who killed them that's split between the assists. Now it's just you get the kill, and then depending on what tier or how many kills that person had, the gold from the kill gets split between everyone on the team that killed them. So it's more of a team objective to kill an enemy as opposed to like a solo venture. And no more assist streaks. RIP. some turret changes. They no longer gain armor and magic resist. Inner towers no longer shield players from damage. So this is basically a buff to poke champs, buff to mages, as I said. Yeah, turret health got increased because the magic resist no longer is there. Minions. Yeah, this was originally, all this stuff was originally going to be there, but they changed these changes to actually come out next patch, not this one, so it's not relevant. Gold per minion increased, and gold growth per minute decreased. So you should be getting your earlier items earlier and later items about the same time. Got some jungle changes. Blue buff gives 2 ability power per level. That's pretty good for mages. Anyone else, not really useful. The Crest of Cinders, true damage applies to turrets. Good for auto attackers, ranged auto attackers, ADCs who usually get the buff anyways, and not as useful for other people. And they're just changing the base health and armor to be about the same. Teleport finally getting nerfed. So the channel time up by half a second, and the cooldown no longer gets reduced when you use it on a turret. Remove summoner spells. They got rid of clairvoyance, nobody used it, and clarity, nobody used it, except if you're a troll. So, good. They removed several items, but they also added a bunch of new items. No more average blade, flask, ruin, mana potion, potion, knife, trailblazer, stealth board, surly cult, brutalizer, twin shadows, and zephyr. Marksman itemization. They added a whole bunch of new items. Well, after these, basically just price adjustments and stat changes. But these BF Store, these 3 items, basically the same. And build paths. New Essence Raver is going to be pretty good on caster ADCs. It's like Lucian and I think Graves probably. I don't know, we'll see. Recurve bow, cutlass, Bork, seal, Phantom Dancer, new Phantom Dancer. It's gonna be good for ADCs that want to 1v1 the enemies, so like Ashe, Vayne, Varus. Pretty good stats, since it causes the champions that you attack to deal 12 less damage to you. Runon's the same, bolts can out crit, so it's a buff to it. Then a new Kirchias shard, I don't know how to pronounce that. Basically just a mini static shiv that now builds into static shiv and rapid fire cannon, which gives you extra range on your next attack when the shard is fully stacked. Last Whisper, they reworked it into now it only penetrates bonus armor, which means if your target has no bonus armor, you're not going to do bonus damage. So it's definitely a situational buy as opposed to the old Last Whisper that you would buy all the time. Giant Slayer is going to be a good item for taking out tanks, enemies greater maximum health than you. So if the enemy's stacking health, you definitely want to pick this up. Executioner's Calling, back in the game. Not sure how many people are going to use it, but it's a counter, more or less, to the heals that the enemy has. Obviously, going in line with the Graves Wind changes from earlier. They have the 2 new Last Whisper items, along with the reworked Last Whisper that costs a lot cheaper. Lord Dominic's Regards. So, yeah. Gonna want to definitely build that against tanks since you get the damage increase from the Giant Slayer. And 40% bonus armor pen. And a Mortal Reminder mix between Last Whisper and Executioner's Calling that has both the passives. And these two, basically the same. Ability power itemization. Oh boy. You know, when I saw these before, I was just not happy since I do like to play the AP champions. But pretty much every AP item, the full items, cost more, and yeah, Loon's Echo costs more, Deathcap, Hourglass costs more, and gives less armor, so sucks if you want to build that against AD. Yep, price increase, price increase, price increase, but yeah, I want to say that all of these are only because of the increased gold income that you're going to get from the team-wide bounty assists, the increased base gold, and the increased minion gold. So, I don't know. You'll get your core 1 item early, but the later items will be harder to get, cost more. Yeah, all of these about the same. Lichbane now has 10% CDR, but that is due to the new Sheen that gives CDR. Yeah, defensive. Yeah, costs more, costs more. Everything costs more. Jungle items. They are adding a bit more variety outside of just getting Hunter Machete first. So now you gotta get Hunter Machete or Hunter's Talisman for mages. They added the new Tracker Knife, which is like a Sightstone jungle item. Drops wards, and you refill them at the chop. And there's no more Poacher's Knife, which is fine. It's whatever. Nobody bought the Poacher's Knife anyway. Got some changes to the gold income on the support items. So, no more passive, or let's see. More gold on the base coin. No passive gold on the second coin, but more gold generation, and same for Talisman. Now the tank support items have more gold per 10. Small increase, but still worthwhile. Spell Thief line, increase in gold and damage, so it's a buff to mages. And some more price increases. Oh, this one got a decrease, but it also lost the magic resist. Vision items. They are nerfing the amount of wards that you can carry, but they're allowing the Sightstone to be combined with the tier 3 support items from here into, I have the Watchers for the blue one, I have say Oasis for the green one, for the yellow one, and I have the Equinox for the green one. And Ruby Sightstone now gives 10% cooldown to item actives, which is pretty significant, and you might actually want to buy it now. Trinkets, now trinkets automatically upgrade, and it should be good for everybody, even though they got rid of stealth wards. But now everyone gets free wards, yay. Skyward line, they got rid of it. Oh well. People mostly use the warding totem and the sweeping lens anyways. Yeah, these are basically the same with the cooldown reductions. Starting items. Changed a bunch of starting items to be more cost effective. Doran's shield costs more gold. Doran's blade costs more gold, but has better stats. Doran's ring given a 50% base mana regen, so it's useful later in the game as opposed to just being a early game mana regen. Dark Seal, basically a mini Medjay. You get some stacks, if you want to start snowballing from the get-go. Coal, AD item, farm oriented, so you want to farm up, get your 100 CS, and then cash in 300 gold, and sell this because you're not going to use it. Health pots cost way more, hopefully to discourage buying a bunch of health pots, staying in lane forever. Now we have the refillable potion, which is just like a consume the charge. Yeah. In case you don't want to buy a bunch of regular health potions, you can use this for some short-term early game sustainability. Hunter's potion. It's like their refillable potion, but for the jungle. So, and you get charges from killing a large monster. So it should be good if you want to sustain for a long time in the jungle. Corrupting potion, useful for lane bullies, pokers, all-inners. Gives you some damage in lane as well as some sustain. Got rid of Elixir of Ruin, but they combined it with Elixir of Iron, so now you just have one tank-based elixir instead of two. Sorcery cost increase, but AP increase as well. Elixir of Wrath now no longer resets on kill and assist, so now it's standardized with the other elixirs. Boots, bunch of boot changes. Regular boots, cost down, good. Circuit Greaves, cost more attack speed though. Swiftness, costs less, higher movement speed. So hopefully more people will want to buy it. Lucidity, costs less, lower cooldown reduction, but it also reduces summoner spell cooldown. So if you want to be TP Ghost Singe, this might be an option. Merc Treads, cost down, tenacity down. That's probably to go in line with the mastery changes. Ninja Tabby, cost up, armor up, good. Alacrity, Furor, Distortion, Captain, and Home Guard, all standardized to 450. Distortion, Summoner Spell cooldown reduction down, probably so it can synergize with the Lucidity, 10%. So if you really want Summoner Spell reduction, you can get higher now. Item changes, more item changes. New Death's Dance. Basically, it's going to be an item for dancing around death. So if you have low health, you lifesteal more. And if you can manage that well, you can stay alive for a pretty long time. Ma, same thing. When you get low, you get a lifeline passive effect that gives you 10% spell vamp, 10% life steal until you leave combat. So that can last for theoretically forever if you want to stay in combat for that long. Frozen Mallet, lower price, recipe different. Still don't think people are going to buy this that much. Yumu is completely different, no more crit chance, just flat 80 item that gives move speed. Rageblade. Yeah, basically a new Tiamat item for hybrid champions like Jax, Kale, Akali. Deals AoE damage. Gunblade. Small changes, now heals for 50% of all damage dealt. So it's basically the same. Lower active cooldown, but no more single target and basic attack cooldown reduction. Tiamat, much lower cooldown. But no more cleave passive. And cost less. Hydra and Ravenous Hydra and Titanic Hydra, both pretty much the same. You can switch between them now if you want. Since they cost the same. Price increase for both of them is 3,600. Small changes to Phage, Cleaver, Trinity Force now has CDR from the Sheen that we have not got to yet. Where is Sheen anyways? Oh, here you go, Sheen. Oh, it's so down here. Basically, they just got rid of the cooldown reduction. Or, I'm sorry, they got rid of the ability power and they added cooldown reduction. So, if you're not an AP champion, that's good for you. If you are an AP champion, tough luck. Small changes. Yeah, these are all just changes to recipe and cost for all the new items and new gold income changes. New item, Germ's Fist. Looks like a Juggernaut item. Gives you AD, health, and a stacking passive. So if you want to stack some health before you build it into something else, you can do that. Serrated Dirk. Replacement for the Brutalizer. Gives armor pen and small bursts to the next basic attack after killing a unit. And then the other half of the Brutalizer gives CDR and AD. Masteries. They completely changed the mastery system. I think it's simpler this way. But yeah. Basically, here I'm just gonna look at this chart. You either pick one side or the other, and then you can split between these two, but you can only pick one of these two masteries for each tier. And at the end, these are the masteries that impact your gameplay style. Looks like we're getting to the end of things. New champ, end of season, Victorious Silver Skin if you get gold or higher. So yay for those people. Some server side account settings are saved rather than the individual computers. Good if you travel a lot or use a bunch of different computers. Mac improvements, woohoo for those people. And finally, a little bug fix section. Talon's W, like the other boomerang projectiles, comes back to him and does damage. Bug fix with Lulu picks. Bug fix with that. And bug fix with Syndra's W. And yeah, that was everything. Pretty big patch. I might have missed some things, but yeah, overall, I think games are going to be a lot faster. ADC changes should be interesting. We'll see how much they're actually going to be impactful. I think tanks and mages have gotten weaker with these item changes, but the patch has only been out for 2 days, and we'll have to wait and see for how these changes, and we still have a couple months till January when the actual season starts, so Riot has plenty of time to make the game better. I mean, technically they're just making it better all the time, but well, thanks whoever watched all the way through this. If you understood my rambling, first impressions, my discussion with myself about these changes. But I'm excited to get on League and test these out. Alright, bye bye.